Alrighty. Hey guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're at. We are going to be diving into our last lesson for this unit, which is nation states and the growth of nationalism. So this lesson again is going to be using Pear Deck, so just click that pair to log in, and then jump on to the next slide. And we will then get going. So we're going to jump right into things in this lesson, okay? And here's what we're trying to do. So we need to first understand what a nation and a state are, and then we're going to look at what the rise and impact of nationalism, you'll notice again, it's got the word nation in it, in 1700s Europe is going to be. So with that in mind, the mini lesson is what we're going to be kicking things off with, and then we will dive into some fun kind of different things from that point on. Okay? So what makes a nation? Again, what is a nation, what is a state, and then what are the similarities kind of between the two? Alrighty. So let's dive into what a nation is, okay? So a lot of times when you will hear, folks talking about, it could be world events or politics or geography, I mean, who knows what, right? We tend to throw a lot of words like countries and nations and states and all, like territories. Like we tend to kind of throw these words around. However, for the purposes of history and geography and things like that, these words actually do have very specific meaning. And so we're going to take some time to actually define what these mean then, and also kind of explain why this matters. So, for example, okay, let's take on the word nation. All that a nation means is it just refers to a group of people who share roughly the same culture. Now, again, culture's varied, it's amorphous, it changes, right? But this can be, people who share similar traditions, religions, languages, historical experiences, all those kind of things. So as an example here, I've given you just a preview of a map of some of the different Native American nations that were present here before Europeans arrived. Just again, as an example, okay? So that, again, as an instance. So on Pear Deck then, write an example of a nation that you know. You could think about, different sports teams. That would be an instance. The other way kind of do I think a good way to remember what a nation is, it's really like an imagined community. Okay, that is a good example of kind of what a good kind of phrase you can remember with what a nation is. Alrighty. Once you've done that, then let's talk about states. Okay, so states also do refer to a group of people, but there's a couple of other criteria that have to be met for a state to be defined. Okay, so first, what are these things that make a state? Okay, one, it has to have a space and a territory that is recognized by other states. Okay, two, it has to have sovereignty, meaning it is not subject to another power. It has control over that space, and it doesn't owe allegiance to somebody else. And again, a shorthand for that is that states then kind of therefore logically you could call them countries. Okay, so for an example of this, you could think of like Brazil or China or the United States is a state, right? Canada would be another kind of instance, right? So, which one of these then is not a state? So we have Germany, Morocco, Australia, and Indiana here. Okay, give you a second to think about it. Okay, so it's going to sound very odd, but Indiana is not a state. Just again, as a weird example here. All of these, Germany, Morocco, Australia, they have control over their own space. They have sovereignty, right? And they also are recognized by other states. Okay? So that then brings us to the last one, which is, okay, so what's a nation state? And that's just going to combine the same terms, okay? So a nation state basically means that it is a country that the people inside of it share some kind of a roughly, kind of roughly similar culture, okay? Now, that can obviously be, very loose or very tight depending on, what country in particular you're looking at. Like, obviously, the United States, there are literally hundreds of languages that are spoken here, but there are things that are common that bind us together as Americans. Japan would be another example. There are things that bind, the Japanese people together. That's what a nation state is, okay? Now, a couple other things that your caveats that you might want to think about. Can you be a state that has multiple nations? Yes. Okay, the United States again would be a good example of this, but also like the United Kingdom. Okay, the UK would be an example of this. So England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland are all part of what we consider to be the UK, the United Kingdom. It's why you see, for example, like when you look at the Olympics, that they're, you'll have certain athletes from some countries that are often, commonly lumped together, but not others, right? These kind of things happen with the difference between nations and states. Then we get this one. Okay, can you have a nation with no state? Yes. Okay, so until for example, like the creation of Israel, the Jewish people were stateless. Or for example, right now you could say Palestinians currently do not have a state that is their own, right? So you can have a nation that is not, part of a state. Or, for example, you could have a nation that extends beyond the boundaries of a current existing state, so like refugees or things like that, right? So, excellent. All right. So here's what you're going to do, okay? Go ahead, finish out this exit ticket, okay? And once you've done that, then you're going to play a little game that'll help you practice the difference between these two things. So I made this based on the game Naked and Afraid, just renamed it to Nation and a State. And you are going to see if you can tell the difference intelligently between the two. So you're going to click right here. Okay, it'll say click to play. You'll make a copy of it. Okay. Once you do so, then you're just going to follow the instructions that are on the slide. So I'm just going to go here to slide 2. It says examine the following 10 scenarios. I think it's actually 5. And decide on which of your 2 characters is correct. Are they a nation or a state? Once you decided, click the corresponding box and check your answer on the following slide. Each time you're correct, your PSR, your political savviness rating, will increase. So then you go to slide 3. It says, okay, we're going to give our 2 characters a name. This is just something fun to add customization. And to do this, all I'm going to do here is hit Control H, and this is just the replace thing. So I'm just going to type in name 1. So, and I'm going to replace them with Shirley. There we go. I'm going to hit replace all, and then name 2, and I'm going to replace that with Bob. All right. Excellent. So that'll just customize our characters' names for the whole experience that we're going to do. And then it says go ahead and put these slides in slideshow mode. So I will do that. And then it says click to begin. All right. So then you'll just go through the scenarios. And as you'll see, your score will go up depending on who you agree with and, again, the information and answers that you decide to provide. Okay. So that's how you play that. It's a fun little game. Once you have done so, then, you are going to finish this lesson off by doing what's called a You Pick 2. So, like Panera, you'll get a little bit of a choice here. And here's how it'll work. Okay, let's just go through the basic steps. We're going to now actually focus on the history of nations and nationalism through this activity. So, on slide 15, okay, you are going to click this button to do an initial first reading on the rise of nationalism in Europe, just kind of, again, the broad strokes. And then you're going to pick 2 of these. So you can choose one to not read. So maybe you're really interested in, the history of German nationalism and Jewish nationalism, but not so much the Italian one. Sweet, pick those. And then you're just going to answer this question on Pear Deck. Is nationalism worth it, creating the effects of an us versus them dynamic between groups? Okay? So that is it for this lesson, and then I will see you in the next one in person for our first test. All right, so good luck. All right, bye.